Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with the video. I, 29 male, couldn't believe my dad was asking me to be the best man at my brother Matt's 27 wedding to my ex-girlfriend Aubrey, 27. I had known that my brother had been dating my ex after a rough breakup, but I had distanced myself from my brother and my ex, and my family was aware of this. I wasn't even sure whether Matt really liked Aubrey or if he was just trying to hurt my feelings. Here my dad was, on the phone with me, begging me to be my brother's best man. When I asked him why he couldn't find somebody better to take this role, my father said that Matt didn't have anyone else that was close enough to him to take on this role, and that it was such a special occasion that would bring our family closer together. I had no desire to see my ex getting married to my brother. However, there was one thing that I needed from Aubrey: closure. She had blocked me on all social media accounts and didn't reply to any of my messages. In a way, she had just ghosted me, and I wasn't sure why she even broke up with me till this day. After all, we had had a 3-year relationship and had been happy together for the most part. So I decided to tell my dad that I accepted the offer to be my brother's best man on one condition: that my ex and I talk about the wedding. My dad agreed and said that he would arrange for a few minutes before the wedding so that Aubrey and I could talk. He made me promise that I would not cause any issues. I agreed, since that was not my intention. All I wanted was to talk to Aubrey and find out what had caused her to leave me without any warning. On the day of the wedding, I was nervous but also a little excited. Finally, I would be able to get some closure and talk to Aubrey for the first time in months, since she had left me almost 1 year ago. My dad kept his word and took Aubrey to the side so she could talk to me for a few minutes while getting ready. She was getting her makeup done, and even though she was not yet wearing her wedding dress, she looked absolutely beautiful. The talk with Aubrey started surprisingly well. I had feared that she would not be willing to talk to me at all, but I think the sight of a familiar face calmed her nerves, and she seemed almost happy to talk to me. For a little while, we talked about meaningless things like how our jobs had been going and other stuff unrelated to our relationship. At some point, I saw my dad approaching us, and I realized that our time was up soon. So I steered the conversation in the direction of our breakup. When I asked Aubrey what I had done wrong for her to leave me, she gave me a stare of disbelief. She looked hurt and told me that she left me because I had cheated on her. To make this clear, I have never cheated on her in our relationship, so I let her know that that was not true and asked her how she came to think that I was cheating on her. Her reply was crazy. She told me that Matt, my brother, had shown her some evidence, pictures of me cheating on her with another woman. Matt must have edited those pictures because, as I said, I had never cheated on Aubrey or anyone. I told these exact words to her. At this point, my dad pulled me to the side and told me that time was up and Aubrey needed to get back to getting dressed. Both Aubrey and I were left confused. I could tell by looking at her face that she wasn't sure what was going on and who was lying, me or Matt. On the inside, I was fuming when I realized the extent of my brother's betrayal. Matt had crossed a line that I didn't think he would be capable of crossing. Up until that day, I had some faith that Matt might love Aubrey, but that day I realized that this whole thing was some sort of revenge that Matt was taking to hurt me. He had probably even manipulated my dad into asking me to be his best man so he could see me suffer while watching him marry Aubrey. Not going to lie, I loved Aubrey a lot. Matt did all he could to take away my happiness. I didn't even know what I did to deserve all of this. At this point, I had had enough. There was no reason for me to stay at Aubrey and Matt's wedding after this kind of betrayal. I didn't care about Matt's feelings or even my dad. The only thing I was worried about was whether or not Aubrey would still make this terrible mistake of marrying my brother. But it was no longer my concern, since I told her the truth at least. So I went home without telling anyone. About an hour later, my phone started blowing up with calls from my brother's number. I ignored the first few calls, but then I answered because I was curious about what happened. Matt yelled at me through the phone that I had ruined his wedding and his life. He screamed at me that the wedding didn't even happen. Aubrey left him at the altar without a reason why. My dad then apparently told Matt about the talk I had with Aubrey, so Matt put two and two together and figured out that I had told Aubrey something that made her not go through with the wedding. I confronted Matt about him telling Aubrey that I had cheated on her and the evidence pictures that Aubrey had talked about. As it turns out, Matt has been holding a lot of resentment towards me since our childhood. As the older brother, I used to sometimes pick on him or make fun of him in front of our friends or girls he liked. I guess I never noticed how much this had hurt and bothered him, even throughout his adult years. That must have stuck with Matt in a serious way for him to still be upset about this until today. He went to the lengths of lying to my long-term girlfriend about me cheating, manufactured false evidence, Photoshop pictures as it turns out, and built a whole relationship on these lies. And ultimately, he was willing to marry her just to get back at him. Right now, I'm not even sure what to feel. I'm mostly angry and frustrated that things turned out this way. I understand that bullying my brother as a kid was wrong, and I even feel sorry for having pushed it too far sometimes and for having hurt his feelings that badly. But I don't think that warrants a response like his. He could have talked it out with me like an adult instead of playing games and trying to make my life hell. The only thing I'm glad about right now is that Aubrey was able to get out of this situation before getting married to my manipulative liar of a brother. AITA for teasing my brother as a kid? Or am I right to be mad at him for going too far and destroying my relationship? Thank you for all of your comments assuring me that my brother went too far. I'm aware I was probably the A when my brother and I were little, but we're adults now and should be able to act more mature than that, right? Anyways, I talked to Aubrey yesterday and she thanked me for stopping her from marrying my brother in a way. She wanted to know the whole truth from me, so I let her know that my brother photoshopped the pictures of me with another woman and that he was taking his revenge on me through her. I asked Aubrey why she didn't communicate with me when we were still together and why she blocked me on literally every single social media platform. She told me that Matt told her lots of lies about me and made her promise to never talk to me again for her safety. That's why she cut ties with me immediately and turned to Matt for comfort. What a manipulator! He used her vulnerability and heartbreak to make her fall in love with him and move on from me. It's very understandable that Aubrey is really upset right now and that she is confused as well. She invested multiple months of her life into a relationship that was fake and fell in love with Matt while he was just using her. I have some hopes that we could try again and restart our relationship, but she told me that she needs time to think about everything and figure out her emotions first. It's understandable. I'll keep you guys updated if anything happens between us in the future. Oh, and I am cutting all ties with my brother. I don't think it's healthy for either one of us to keep talking to the other since our relationship has become way too toxic. It's really sad, but that's life sometimes, I guess. I have news for you guys. Aubrey agreed to go on a date with me next week. I'm excited. I hope we can work this out and go back to how we were a year ago. Sorry for keeping you guys waiting on updates from the date. It went pretty well, but I realized that it's not going to be as easy as going back to our relationship a year ago. So much happened within this year. We both went through heartbreak and went through a lot of trauma as well. I can tell that Aubrey is different now. She's been through a lot of pain these last months, and I have been heartbroken too. But it made us both more mature, I think. The good part is Aubrey agreed to another date. We're taking it slow, but it feels so good to reconnect with her. I'll update you soon. Aubrey and I are officially dating again since yesterday. I told my family, except my brother, of course, never talking to him again. And my parents were happy for me. They know by now what went down between Matt, Aubrey, and me, and they have been rooting for me and Aubrey to get back together. My dad told me he's really glad he let me have that talk with Aubrey before the wedding. If you told me before the wedding that things would turn out this way, I wouldn't have believed it. But I'm so glad to have Aubrey back. Hopefully, there's going to be no more breakups, no cheating, no manipulation, and no lies in general in our future. Wish us luck, guys, and thanks to everyone who kept giving me advice. NTA, wow, what a story. I can't even imagine what I would do if I were in this situation. It's unbelievable that the brother would go to such great lengths to hurt his flesh and blood and to manipulate the situation so that he could see his brother suffer. That's just evil. I'm glad OP and Aubrey were able to work things out in the end, but they all went through so much unnecessary suffering. ESH. This is a perfect example of why communication is so important in relationships. If Aubrey had just talked to OP instead of jumping to conclusions, none of this would have happened. And the fact that the brother was the one who manipulated the situation is just sickening. It's clear that he has some serious issues and needs to work on himself. I feel really bad for everyone involved, but I hope that they can find a way to move forward and heal from this. ESH, honestly, I'm sorry, but both you and your brother suck. You bullied him as a kid, which is why it's understandable that he felt bad and held a grudge towards you. But then again, he did not have to bring the poor girl into this mess of your family drama. I feel bad for her. I hope she can heal from this, and I hope both you and your brother learn from this and become better, more mature people in the future. I, 20, female, have a sister, S, 30, female. She's a waitress and she makes decent money doing so. She loves it and has no desire to get a degree or change career paths, which is fine for her. I've never judged or put her down for that. I'm working a 9 to 5 until I figure out what I want to go to college for. I used to be a waitress, and I'll admit the money was good, but I would never go back to it. The mental strain wasn't worth the payout, and I was so stressed and tired all of the time that I couldn't focus on literally anything but work. S is constantly making sideways comments about my job, saying that I don't make good money and I should just go back to waitressing because my paycheck is embarrassing. She says I'm stupid for choosing a job with low pay instead of one where I can make a lot. She also says I'm stupid for going to college and getting a pointless degree because you don't have to have a degree to make money. And I need to just give up and go be a cocktail waitress with her when I'm 21. Because of all this, I don't hang out with her much. But the other day she came over and the rant about college and my choices came up. She said all the usual stuff, once again telling me to just quit and go and waitress and give up on college and how if I don't, I'm stupid and I'll be poor forever. I couldn't take it. I snapped. I told her that she's pathetic, and the only reason she doesn't want me to go to college or work a salary job is because she doesn't want me to end up doing better than her, and that I would rather die than be a waitress forever because I don't enjoy it. And I don't want to be like her, living in an apartment after apartment and driving a cheap car when I'm 30. I want better for myself. Now she's crying to my mom, and everyone is telling me I should have just kept my mouth shut and put up with her griping instead of hurting her feelings. But to me, it wasn't just griping. It was spite and hatefulness for no reason, and it needed to end. AITA? NTA, your sister was definitely jealous because your potential options bother her. I love that you were honest with her and clear-minded, but now you need to put up or shut up. You don't have to go to college, but you now need to figure your shit out rather than coasting with the undecided major excuse. Maybe a trade school would serve you better. Maybe you can try a code academy class on the side to see if that's your thing. Even entry-level coders make very nice salaries. You have options. But make no mistake, a dead-end office job is the same thing as waitressing. Don't waste the opportunities because If you do, in 5 years, she will rub it in your face. Good luck. NTA, your sister has made her thoughts on your potential career clear, with no regard for how you might feel as a result. You've simply returned the favor. Could you have done it more politely? Yes. But she also called you stupid, so that's hardly polite in the first place. Live your life the way you want to, OP. That's the only way to be happy. I'm 20, female. Friends from uni and I have been planning to go on a trip next March since the beginning of this year. Since 2 of my friends are bringing their partners along with them, I've asked my boyfriend, 19, male, if he wanted to come under the condition that he earned the money himself to cover his expenses, including plane tickets and accommodations, which had come around to be around 5,000 Canadian dollars. I made this request months ago because I knew he was going to ask his parents for the money to cover the expenses, which they had always given him. Like when his brother asked for $3,000 for a gaming setup, and when he asked for $2,000 so he could have a TV in his room. His family isn't super wealthy, but they are well-to-do, and his mom has tried to ask him to try and get a part-time job during school breaks, to which he has always said he'll try, but ended up never getting one. I grew up in a household where we often had to get by and thus have been working multiple part-time jobs since I was 16, and have been trying to urge him to get a job with his mother. A couple of days ago, he told me he wants to go on the trip with me, which shocked me as I questioned how he was going to raise $5,000 since we still have classes and semester break doesn't start till late February. And he told me he asked his parents and they agreed to help pay for his expenses. I told him no, I would not be allowing him to go on the trip with me and refused to share our itinerary document with him since I made it clear I didn't want his parents to pay for his expenses and established that he would have to earn his keep. But he told me that this was something I should have zero say over, since I was never in charge of how his parents spend their money. We had a fight over this, and he called me a controlling, manipulative freak before ranting to my friends' partners who are going on this trip with us. We're all part of the same friend group. They all agreed I was a little out of line and should have no say over how he raised the funds needed. I don't want to rant to my other friends about this since I don't want them to think badly of me or my boyfriend, but it really made me confused as I have no clue if I'm the one at fault here. AITA? YTA, he's your boyfriend, but you don't share finances yet. You can decide not to want to get serious with someone who uses their parents as an ATM and doesn't know how to make a living for themselves, so you're free to break up with him anytime you like. You cannot control how he spends his money or how he finances his expenses until you both decide to mix finances, which is, together with living together, having children and marriage, are the 4 separate things that prevent you from breaking up at any time. Do you want him on the trip? Or do you want him to get his finances in order? What is more important? How is this helping either? YTA, you have no control over where the money comes from. You invited him, he has the money, and he gets to go. You don't get to impose the conditions you placed on it because, quite frankly, that's not your place. If he wants to get a job, he'll get a job. If that doesn't sit well with you, then you are free to see other people. Besides, he did raise the money on his own. He just didn't do so from a source you approved of. That is why he called you controlling. You need to grow from this. Realize everyone has their own autonomy and there is no forcing people to live the same life as you. There is no one road in life. There are many. And he just had one with parents that give him everything he desires. I do commend your work attitude, however. It doesn't do well for everyone, so you can't be shoving it on others like your boyfriend. ESH. Your boyfriend has obvious entitlement issues. You're the AH because you're leveraging a vacation to make a point and police your boyfriend's behavior. If his lack of a job bothers you, break up. But don't be in a relationship and then humiliate and exclude somebody into becoming the person you actually want to date.